Welcome to the mind of Lancescurv, the most creatively profound man in cyberspace.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Lancescurv. Today we're going to speak about celibacy. I know that this is a very much often misunderstood topic, and we need to talk about it because in this day and age, it's very much necessary. And I have my reasons for that. But before we move on, I wanted to speak on the passing of one of our heroes. You know, you're probably saying, well, who is this? I just want to say this one thing. So many of us spend money to go to concerts, to watch these very confused individuals demoralize themselves and influence the masses, and especially the younger folks, with filth. It's infested all over the internet, the schoolyards and the playgrounds, but yet they get all of the press minds of our children because that's the end goal. But when we have a hero in our midst, we don't hear much about them. I'm speaking about Hadiya Broadbent, or actually Broadbent. Sorry about that. I'm going to read this off, and this is on Lancescurv.com on this particular post. But I think we should give a little time, and I thought about doing this today, and I said, you know what? Anytime we need to speak on someone, whether they're transitioning or doing something good, I don't think it's too much of a task to celebrate their life and what they did. Broadbent was born in 1984 with an undiagnosed HIV situation. She was adopted at 10 months old by Lauren and Patricia Jones. Her adoptive parents found out she had HIV 3 years after her adoption. Not much had been known about Hadiya, as her birth mother had left her at a Las Vegas hospital. 3 years later, that hospital called Hadiya's adoptive parents when Hadiya's birth mother gave birth at the same hospital to another child and left him there. As both mother and child tested positive for HIV, the Broadbents tested Hadiya soon after, and she also tested positive for HIV. Her adoptive mother signed her up for a research trial to hopefully find a treatment that would work for Hadiya. Growing up, Hadiya regularly had brain and blood infections, pneumonia, and fungal infections in her brain. It was predicted that she would not survive childhood and would die at the age of 5. Despite all predictions, she survived. However, when she was 5, she developed AIDS. Broadbent began her activism at age 6 by speaking about living with HIV/AIDS. She initially got involved with speaking on the subject through Elizabeth Glazier, the late creator of the Elizabeth Glazier Pediatric AIDS Foundation. The two met while Hadiya was undergoing treatment at the National Institute of Health. Glazier asked Hadiya's mother to let Hadiya speak publicly about having HIV/AIDS, and she acquiesced. Hadiya went on to speak at many events, including AIDS benefit concerts, documentaries, college campus education events, and talk shows. She appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show in 1996. Recently, she appeared on Oprah's Where Are They Now?, as she was one of the most requested guests to be revisited. She appeared on a Nickelodeon special along with Magic Johnson. 2 years after the special, she established the Hadiya L. Broadbent Foundation and received a Black Achievement Award from Jet magazine. She also appeared in Essence and on the Maury Povich Show, Good Morning America, and at the 1996 Republican National Convention, At the Republican National Convention, she famously stated, "I am the future and I have AIDS." In 2002, her family published a book entitled "You Get Past the Years," and the family appeared in 2004 on Extreme Home Makeover. As of 2014, Broadbent speaks on the behalf of the Magic Johnson Foundation and other AIDS activist organizations in order to educate people about HIV and AIDS, raise awareness, and fight discrimination against those living with HIV/AIDS. She also was involved in screening drives along with actress Jernee Smollett-Bell. Broadbent has traveled extensively, both nationally and internationally, to speak to others. Broadbent took 3 antiretroviral pills a day, and the majority of her medical payments come out of pocket. According to her, HIV is not a death sentence, but it's a life sentence. You'll be taking pills forever, going to the doctor and fighting insurance forever. She hoped that by sharing her story, things will begin to change. Broadbent died February 20th, 2004, at the age of 39. I just thought that I'd want to share that. Those words I took from Wikipedia and kind of had to correct a few things over, but I just think that we take time to honor people who do something with their lives. Now, see, she was born this way. It's not her fault, but she still took the time going into adulthood to be an activist for this. And I think that was wonderful. She's done more in her life than many of these so-called celebrities will do in 50 lifetimes. We need to acknowledge that. Yes, we need entertainment. Yes, we need stuff like that, but we need to balance things out. Now, I'll get on with the subject, but I just had to share that and take a little time. Anyway, let me get a little sound check and make sure that everything is working okay. And I see here we have Nicole's perspective. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And Brother Willie C. Holman Jr., welcome on into the show. We have a few people on. Now, I will say, we have a severe set of thunderstorms up here in the mountains in West Africa. And so I will say also that this house was just hit by lightning, I will say exactly 38 minutes ago. But it was a little tip, but it was so loud and everything stayed on. So there are various clouds all day long that are flying around like little spaceships. So if for some reason the power goes out, just give me 90 seconds and I'll be on my phone, because I have my phone set, because if it catches me, trust me, I want to get right back on. But I'm going to share a few notes, and I want to go deep on a few things that I think about this topic, because like I said, it's not one that is so popular. Mami Wata, how are you? How are you? I'm good to see you here. I told you I was going to do something, and I'm going to follow through with it regardless, right? We're going to stay positive. Thanks for the wonderful conversations. In today's fast-paced world, the concept of celibacy might seem archaic or challenging to grasp, but its benefits for personal growth and healing are profound. Today, we're going to delve into the transformative journey of celibacy, understanding its significance, setting boundaries, and embracing the healing process. Let's understand celibacy. Number 1, removing distractions. Celibacy allows us to remove the distraction of sexual energy, creating space to confront unresolved issues within ourselves. Number 2, reconnecting with self. By abstaining from sexual activity, we can redirect our focus inward, fostering self-awareness and introspection. 3, breaking patterns. Indulging in sexual activities can sometimes be a way of avoiding deeper issues. Celibacy offers a chance to break free from these patterns and confront underlying issues head on. Setting boundaries. Cutting ties. Number 1, establish boundaries with former partners and potential romantic interests to avoid temptation and maintain focus on personal growth. Number 2, self-discipline. Cultivate self-discipline to resist situations that may lead to temptation, ensuring a dedicated commitment to the celibacy journey. 3. Avoiding escapes. Recognize the urge to seek solace in self-pleasure or masturbation as a means of escape and commit to facing challenges directly. Benefits of celibacy. Number 1, regenerative practice. Celibacy serves as a regenerative practice, preserving and replenishing one's energy instead of depleting it through toxic relationships. Number 2, increased energy. Without the drain of sexual indulgence, individuals experience increased energy that can be channeled into self-improvement and healing. Now, I'm going to come back to that. Okay, I want to go into that a little further. Okay, when I said without the drain of sexual indulgence, let me just say it now. In a proper relationship, a loving relationship where both partners are committed to each other and they're joined, it's not a drain. It's an enhancement. I just want to make that correction there, but I'm still going to come back to that. Number 3, addressing unacknowledged issues. By abstaining from sexual distractions, one can confront and address unresolved issues that were previously ignored or masked. Approaching the celibacy healing process. Number 1, embrace solitude. Utilize quiet and free time for self-reflection, meditation, and spiritual growth. Number 2, engage in creative outlets. Channel energy into creative pursuits such as writing, art, or music to express emotions and foster personal development. Number 3, mindfulness. Practice mindfulness. Stay present in the moment, acknowledging thoughts and feelings without judgment to promote mental clarity and emotional well-being. Okay, here we go. Daily celibacy healing practices. I just want to let you know the rain is starting to come down again, so I get knocked off. Give me 90 seconds to get back on. Number 1, meditation. Dedicate time each day to meditation to calm the mind, gain clarity, and connect with inner wisdom. Number 2, journaling. Reflect on thoughts and emotions through journaling, allowing for self-expression and insight into personal growth. Number 3, affirmations. Use positive affirmations to reinforce self-worth, resilience, and commitment to the celibacy journey. Knowing when to revisit celibacy. This is when you've been off for a while and you need to get back on. So how do you know? After experiencing the transformative effects of celibacy, individuals may find it beneficial to revisit the practice during significant life transitions or challenges, whether coping with loss, change, or seeking to enhance relationships. Celibacy can offer clarity, renewal, and deeper connection. In essence, embracing celibacy is not merely about abstaining from sexual activity, but embarking on a journey of self-discovery, healing, and personal growth. By setting boundaries, practicing self-discipline, and engaging in mindful activities, individuals can navigate the celibacy healing process with purpose and resilience, emerging stronger, wiser, and more aligned with their true selves. And I said all of that, and many who are in a certain state of mind, they're not just going to get it. They're just not going to get it. See, imagine having an AC unit in your home, but you never change the filter. It's not going to work right. Imagine driving your vehicle and never getting a tune-up, never changing the oil. Okay, now my phone got loud that I have set. I'm going to have to move it away to another spot. If you can give me a moment to do so. For some reason, it just decided to get loud on me. I had it set just in case everything gets knocked out. So I'm going to play some music and I'll be right back.
Why are we called Negroes? Why are we deaf, dumb, and blind? Why is everybody making progress, yet we seem to be lagging so far behind? Why are we mistreated? Why are we in this condition, stripped of our name, our language, our culture, our God, and our religion? Here in America, all of our religious training has been gotten by the preacher. He has told us of a heaven way up in the sky.
Okay, I'm back. Let me get a sound check, make sure everything is good. Got to stay on top of the sound check. With all these electronics around me, you just don't know. But as I was saying before, we do everything for our vehicles. We do everything to upkeep our homes. You know, we might do a few things to check up on our bodies, but, you know, the sexual energies, it's very powerful. And I always say that sexuality is just one branch on the tree of life force. Life force is very powerful. So I imagine it this way. Life force is the whole tree. Imagine a huge tree with 50 branches on it. And on those 50 branches, there are even smaller branches shooting off of that. So you just couldn't even tell all of the branches and smaller branches. Well, life force is the trunk. Life force comes through the trunk from the ground and goes to all of the branches of the tree, keeping them strong. But there's one branch of the tree that has several smaller branches. That is raw sexuality, pure sex force, which is based off of the power of life force. Because if you've ever noticed, if your life force is down, your sex drive is down. And this is an adult conversation that will not be lewd, but it will be an adult conversation. Okay? So when your life force is low, you notice that your drive, passion, desire for sexual contact goes down also. That's how we can tell we're really balanced and healthy. Not the chronic addiction type of drive, but a healthy, wholesome drive. And many people can't tell the difference between those. And you see, if you don't utilize that particular energy, which can help you to misdirect your life force, if you don't control it through celibacy, which doesn't mean you have to walk around 24 hours a day, 365 days a year celibate. But imagine never having a chance to digest your food and chew your food in your mouth before you swallow it. And as soon as you get a forkful of food in your mouth, here comes somebody else. Hey, take some more. No, you got to take your time. And this is what happens when we have unnatural desires. And I'm not talking about the specifics of what you like to do, but an unnatural drive that's driven because we're trying to avoid something else. We're trying to avoid facing sometimes and oftentimes pain, confusion, trauma that we have within our beings. And it may not be, and most of the time, it's not connected to anything sexual. Oftentimes it is. I can't tell you the proportion of what it may be because people are not going to answer it honestly. If I put out a survey right now, only if it's anonymous, maybe. But most people are in denial and they only give the answers of what they want you to hear. Because many of us have been traumatized at a young age and violated sexually. A lot of us have been abandoned by parents or loved ones or in relationships. We've received a lot of trauma. And lots of times, sex is the healing activity that takes us away from dealing with it and keeps others who we're involved with from probing deeper to see what it is that makes us tick. We don't want to go there, so we will go that way and cover it with sexual activity. And like I said earlier, when you have a couple who are committed, these days it's rare to say the word marriage. That seems to be going out of the window, but it's very much what we need in the world today. I'm not preaching to anybody, but the old way is the best way. When you're committed, even committed couples in marriage, committed relationships can benefit from saying, hey, we are going through something right now. We lost a loved one. Let's be still for a few days. Doesn't mean you have to be celibate for the next 2 months when you're in that committed relationship, and it must be done in agreement. It can't be where, well, I'm telling you, we're going to be celibate, because that's not fair to the next person. But if they can see on a level of intellect where it would be beneficial, maybe the person would say, hey, I don't feel to, I don't think I need to, but maybe for you, or maybe me, or maybe the both of us, we need to abstain and on a spiritual level, focus on pooling our energies, pooling our life force to that thing that is higher. And when you go back to it, when you go back to the love making, when you get back into the sexual activity, and that's why I said love making. I don't mean just raw call up somebody 2 o'clock in the morning because I feel some kind of way and I want to know if I can come over there and we can be glorified friction providers for each other. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about somebody being a sperm receptacle. I'm talking about people who are committed to each other. That's a very, very important thing to do, and it doesn't mean that you have to take a year before you come back to it. And I would give more leeway to the couples who are committed. But check this out. I'm going to prove to you that that is beneficial. I'm always coming up with my analogies. I'm always coming up with different ways. Patrima Gilmet and Peaceful Pulley. Yes, welcome. Glanced over at the chat room on that one screen. And I'm just here relaxing. I'm enjoying myself. And these are the kind of conversations I like to have more so as I get older, because my perspectives are getting different. Just like I was telling somebody earlier, I said, listen, I'm not 35 no more. It doesn't mean I have to talk about old grandpa type stuff. But the higher you climb on a tree, the further you can see. And the more I live life, and the more things that I see, there are different perspectives now of things that I want to talk about. It's not just the same old, same old. That's the way it is with me. So I really appreciate you vibing with me this way. And if there's anything that you want to talk about, really where we can go in with surgical precision, like this topic, again, for the people who are just coming in to show, is a path to healing and self-discovery, embracing celibacy. And earlier, I read off about Hadia Broadbent and her passing and her transition. But if you like chocolate cake, it could be apple pie, it could be vanilla ice cream, whatever you like. I know I like chocolate cake. I know I like chocolate cake with chocolate icing on it. And I can't have that too much because I'll put on so much weight. I mean, I look at food and I put on weight anyway, but then I can lose it easy too. But if you like chocolate cake, or you can insert whatever it is that you like as far as something sweet or something delicious. And I said to you, well, you like chocolate cake, right? Yeah, I like chocolate cake. Well, for the next week or the next month, I'm going to give you all the chocolate cake you want. You say, wow, that'll be heaven. Let me tell you something. The first day, you might be all right. The second day, chocolate cake for breakfast, chocolate cake for lunch, and now you know you're going to get the same thing for dinner. It's not going to be as sweet. No. But I tell you one thing. When you haven't had that piece of chocolate cake or whatever it is that you like to taste that you forgot about, because, we have busy schedules and we're not children anymore. We know, oh, I can get this when I want it. But you sometimes forget. And when you get that piece of chocolate cake that you haven't gotten in a long time, Trust and believe that thing tastes so good. So we have many people who have sex addictions, many people who have porn addictions, many people who have masturbation addictions, that they do these things and it's not even a real desire. It's a knee-jerk thing. Just like some people who, when they get a little stress in their life, and we're not talking about a lot of stress, we're talking about a little bit, because of an issue that they're dealing with that they don't want to deal with to strengthen. So as soon as they feel a little bit of weakness, they go for the thing that they feel can take them away. They go for the thing they think that's going to soothe all of their problems away. It's just like the old Roto-Rooter commercial. Now you got to be my age to remember this. And they had and one of the lines in it was, "And away those troubles down the drain." Well, that's what people do when they sniffing coke, shooting heroin, masturbating, watching porn, going to get liquor, drinking and getting drunk, pissy drunk. They're doing these things because they feel that this activity will take them away from the stress and the issues that they feel when they're triggered on the inside. And so when you have someone to help facilitate you with your booty calls, right, and you're not in a committed relationship, well, you might be looking to get away from something. You might have issues at home that you're not dealing with. It's somewhere along the line. And celibacy is a good way to step away from that and see what's really there. And it's not easy to do. And I know a lot of the younger folks are going to say, "What are you talking about?" Well, they're going to see it this way. And it's really for people of all ages, but they're going to say, "What are you talking about? I can't stop doing that. That's natural." It's just like the people who say smoking weed is natural. That's a natural thing. But to burn it and turn it into something else, if you boil it and eat it or put it in some cookies or do whatever, sure, it has its purposes. But you say that that's natural. So you mean to rob your brain of oxygen is natural? No. The delivery method of smoking weed, I don't believe in. I don't feel it's proper, because you're putting smoke in your brain, and that's one thing we don't need. So when you're doing these things from a place of addiction, from a place of a knee-jerk reaction, to me, it's something that reveals other things that are dormant. And I'm not throwing off and trying to preach at anybody. We all have our things that we've done in our lifetime, and some things that we still do, and some things that we will continue to do, even though we know better. But the main thing is to put the knowledge in our head so that we know it. And the more we know it, we can, what I'll call, or what I'll say, is self-chastise. Well, you learned the other day on the Lancescurv show that this might be the way to go, because we're not getting anywhere in this relationship, or I'm not getting anywhere in my advancement. Look, you got people who, they obviously and outwardly have all the success in the world. When you look at them from the outside, you see, this person has a well over six-figure income, probably up in the 200,000s. And look at this. They have 3 vehicles, and they have this big mansion and a happy family, and the wife stays home and she deals with the kids. They still have maids. And I'm just making this up because very few people really live like this. But I'm painting the example of that person that you find out about. You might not have known them, but you see a story on the news at night, or you read something in a newspaper, or maybe online, because we don't really do newspapers like that anymore as much, that this person who had this life went up into their room one night and took a gun, pointed it to their head, and blew their brains out. It's like, that's the life. Not doing that, but most of us would love to have those material possessions. But then we quickly understand that material possessions don't always soothe or take away to remove the inner turmoil. And this is what it's all about. Because you see, even success could be an escape from inner turmoil. Outward success that people work so hard, bust their chops to achieve. And we say, wow, they're such a hard worker. That's to be commended. It may not be that they're such a hard worker. It may be that they're working hard to stay away from thinking about something that bothers them, that they can't get over, but they really can if they face it. You see what I mean? Which that part goes beyond celibacy. But what are the things that we can control, that we can redirect in our lives? Celibacy is one of them. If you look, some people on a religious level and on a non-religious level, what do? I'm going to fast. I'm going to fast. I'm going to only eat once a day after sundown, or whatever rules you'll say. Some people want to do it before they wake up. Some people want to eat a little bit, certain types of food. Of course, you can drink water. Of course, if you feel dizzy, for most people, you can drink certain types of juice to keep you from becoming lightheaded or dehydrated. But for the most part, it's the same concept, fasting and celibacy. Now, if you want to do both, that's a challenge, right? But to remove yourself from, I wouldn't say carnal, because eating is necessary, and even the expression of sexuality, it's important. I'll say it that way. It is important when it's in a proper context. Now, some will say, Lance, as wild as you were when you were a youngster, yes, we all had our times, and I had mine too. That's why I have something to compare it to today. I don't want to be that Lance anymore. You know what I mean? And just like we spoke about Hydea Broadbent being born with HIV, you know, thank the Creator, I never recorded anything. But as opposed to running wild, and just think of people who are not in committed relationships, who are just dousing themselves with multiple partners, and every night there's just, I mean, it's just so casual. And AIDS has been around from the early 80s, or actually late 70s, so they say, under a different name called Kaposi sarcoma, and they thought it was some type of cancer, from what I can remember. And I remember being in Greenwich Village, which had a high level or amount of homosexual men there. What are you doing there, Lance? Well, they had a lot of beautiful cafes, bookstores, a good nightlife, nightclubs and stuff. And it wasn't just a gay thing, but that was the unofficial place where gay men and lesbian women can move freely without being harassed or looked at. And a lot of young ladies I knew used to love to go down there, and I used to love to go down there too. To name drop, you know, Washington Square Park, walking through there at night. You go down Christopher Street, you go down to the East Village, the restaurants there. I had a really favorite sushi restaurant that I used to go to from back in 1984 when I first started eating sushi, and this young lady introduced it to me. I have a lot of good memories down there, you see. But down there in the early 80s, you know, because 82, I was 19 years old. I was doing heavy bodybuilding and stuff, right? So after we go to the gym down there was one gym that I trained at that's not there anymore, Natural Physique Center. We would go to BBQs. I'm saying this because this is a routine for so many people, and I like to hear in the comments section when people say, hey, I used to do the same thing too, even if it's not the same exact thing. And we'd walk around and we'd snack. They had a place on 8th Street that had different types of flavored popcorn. I mean, if you wanted root beer popcorn, if you wanted raspberry popcorn, if you wanted banana flavored popcorn, to me, it was like it was hundreds of different flavors of this stuff that they'd put on the popcorn and make it taste a certain way. And we'd walk around, but in walking around, talking to the young ladies, you know what I mean? I always had one on my side because the guys saw my body and the way I looked, and they thought I was with the other stuff, and I'm not with the hanky panky, right? But I respect everybody. So we'd walk around, and I noticed before this thing really hit mainstream, I said, you see a lot of these gay dudes here? Because you knew they were gay. The way they walked, the way they carried themselves, the way they talked, we knew they were broadcasting, and they could be free down in that area back at that time, and still to this day. But the faces were so extremely sucked in, like a skull, like death. Bodies extremely skinny. And back then, from what I could remember, I can't say exactly the time period, but it was almost where when you found out that, you know, you had AIDS, full-blown AIDS, it was but a matter of weeks or months before you were gone. Weeks, months, because they didn't have the medications that they have today, right? So in that community, and I'm not going to bash one community, I'm just telling the facts because that's where the conversation is going, because in the heterosexual community, you had promiscuity also. So maybe, just maybe, when you use sex, whatever kind of sex you're into, as a crutch or an escape to get away from the other underlying issues that you have, that puts you in a more dangerous position, while the original issue never goes away. So if you can remove all sex, no matter what the relationship level, no matter what the situation is with you, where you find yourself in life, I think it's a very much healing thing. Just the way fasting has its spiritual benefits, it also has its physical benefits, because at least you get a chance to rest the digestive system. At least you get a chance to rest, when you go celibate, the reproductive system. But see, it's not just about the reproductive system, because many of us abuse that in the name of some other kinkiness. And it's not that we're thinking about, well, we're going to have a child or we're going to procreate right now. It's a beautiful thing. That's the last thing on most people's minds. Especially, I have to say it, in the homosexual community, they're not thinking about no procreation because they can't procreate. Now, don't call it hate speech. That's just the way it is. So we've taken something wholesome and twisted it around for our own pleasure, as there is an element of pleasure to sexuality. But it's a fasting of a different type. And like I always said before, maybe you haven't thought about it this way. I couldn't tell you every system of the body off the top of my head. We have the skeletal system. We have the digestive system. We have the nervous system. We have all of these systems in our body, right? And out of all those systems, right, there's one that if we don't utilize it, we won't die. All the other systems of the body, we need it every second of every day that we live. But the reproductive system is one that if we don't utilize, we won't die. But in this world, many of us will go crazy, because there are other elements too, and it's not just the reproductive system. Companionship, love, affection, connectedness, righteous soul ties, all the good stuff that comes along. So people can say, well, you're reproducing and you've reproduced out of that union, but it shouldn't be just, like I said, being just a glorified friction provider for each other. You see what I mean? It should be something more than that. But we're titillated all day long. We're titillated with images on social media, and the younger kids can't control themselves. Come on now. I remember when I was much younger, the wind blows and I'm ready, like a batter at home plate, ready to hit the ball out the park, if you know what I mean. Brother Deion White, welcome on in. I see you on Facebook. We're over here on YouTube. I'll flash your imagery across the screen. I'm sorry to call you Robert. Robin England. Everybody else is in. I'm glad to see you. We're on Instagram. There's so many over there. That screen is across the room, so I can't really see it. But we have found our way off course. And we're not going to miss anything. You know, when you're a child, or when you're, say, a teenager, and a bunch of your friends are getting ready to go out somewhere, but you have something at home to do, and you can't leave that house until you get it done. And you want to go so bad, and you're so angry that you can't make it. Well, next week comes along, all of the businesses at home, your chores and everything, you're a youngster, is taken care of, and you're free to go. You forgot about what happened last week when you couldn't go. So what I mean is that you don't have to chase anything down, especially for those younger folks who feel that, you know, this thing feels so good and it's new and I got to run it down. It will be there. It will be there when you're older. Just make sure to take care of yourself. But again, there's other elements to sexuality and other elements to us being balanced, because that's the bottom line at the end of the day. It's about us being in balance. Are you really in balance? I'll compare it to when I used to do bodybuilding many decades ago, like what, 40 years ago, 40 years plus. You knew that you were in a state of balance in your training, meaning your rest, your nutrition, and your training when you had great enthusiasm to go to that gym. Oh, I can't wait to get to the gym. Today I train legs. I feel so mighty. I feel so strong. Look, if you weren't in balance, you would not feel that way. If you were not in balance and very much I am imbalanced, you say, oh man, I think I did too much yesterday. I didn't get enough food. I didn't get enough rest. And you force yourself to go to the gym, you're only digging a deeper hole for yourself. You need to stay home and rest and realize why you were imbalanced and make the corrections so you always have enthusiasm to go to the gym. And we need to have that type of mentality toward life, where we're pushing too much sex beyond the point of even functioning, or the mentality of this toxic sensuality. I'll say it that way. You see everybody on Instagram and TikTok wanting to show pictures of themselves looking so sensuous, looking so sexy. What are you trying to portray? Is that all that you have to offer? Is that all that you're about? Who wants to get with somebody who's living so imbalanced? Of course, we all have genitalia. I pretty much know, young ladies, what you have and what it looks like. And you know what I have and what it looks like. Some longer, some shorter, whatever. We know what we got. Why isn't it that we can't come together, join forces as males and females, and it doesn't have to be just about that? We have real needs in our heart. And really and truly, between couples going celibate for a little while, you can really visit each other on a deeper level, because sometimes we get with people in our lives where they only want one thing from us. So how do we deal with that? If you say, let's take a little month, let's take 2 months, and we can stay with each other. We can spend time with each other. But let's just refrain from having sexual intercourse or anything that results in having an orgasm. Oh, especially the sisters, you're going to find out if that brother's really around you to be around you. You know, and here's the other thing. Since I'm talking about that, sisters, and this is way off subject, but I just have to say it. When these brothers come and say, okay, I'm with it. We're going to hold back together. I'm going to wait for you. I'm not saying every man. But some of these men that you swear by, oh yes, he hasn't been doing anything with me, and he's been waiting, and yes, he's a good man. Yeah, he might be kind of good as far as paying the bills, but don't think that he's not swapping crotch sauce with somebody else across town, getting very much physically satisfied in an imbalanced way, and here you are vouching for him on how good he is. I'm not saying to have doubt in your mind or using it to put doubt in your mind, but when you're really with somebody and you're connected, you know. Because when you get soul ties with other people, if you're right with yourself, sister, or the brother, it takes two to tango. There's a lot of women out here doing their thing. And when you're truly connected, something inside of you tells you something's off and not right. And that's a whole different topic. That's a whole different situation. And for those on Instagram, hit the follow button. I'm trying to get over a certain amount. And that's how we get down. We tell the truth here. We stay honest. And Kim Williams, welcome. Thank you so much for your kind word. Yes, it's something that needs to be explored. And I see Golden Gold here, as well as Deanna White, and I acknowledged you earlier. But yeah, these are the things that many people don't want to talk about because, like I said, pleasure and pain, two of the highly motivational forces in the planet on this dimension. We want the pleasure, but we don't want the pain. And it doesn't mean the pain where somebody's sticking a knife in you or taking a baseball bat and trying to hit you in the head with it, but the pain of sacrifice. See, this is the whole thing about sexuality. See, when you're committed and you indulge, oh my God, it's so good. But when you're really committed, and we know, I don't have to go into the details of what happens between a man and a woman, right? But then after that, a couple more months coming down the line, usually to the tune of 9 months, you have something coming along where you have to have, and it's not a pain of sacrifice, but it could be if you're not in it to sacrifice. And see the overall. You see, construction is not easy. You have the planning phases. You have time when you get the materials together, and then you have the projection of, we're going to get these workers together, we're going to build this building. That's the tough part. We can visualize it, but the tough part is actually getting there. So it's easy to come on in. You know what would have been better? I'm not trying to question the creator. I say creator, I may say God. I don't mean it in the European sense. I'm just saying God, creator, the system, the universe. Something made us. Something made us. And if we are somebody, it's a somebody on a bigger level to put this thing into motion. All the fruits that are there that we can eat, and the wood and the sand, and we can make concrete and make structures and utilize electricity. We just have to get up off our behind and make it happen. What if with sexuality, the pleasure came after the sacrifice? What if we were burning for that sensation, but we had to raise our children for a couple years before we can get that sensation, right? Sexuality is like a credit card. You get it all free up front, and you got to pay later. What happens if it was the other way around? I always say, and I don't really detail what I mean exactly, but you have to earn that pleasure. You have to prove yourself worthy. And we have a lot of women out here who are giving away their pleasure for the bills, money. We're all screwed up in so many different ways. I'm not saying you who are here in the chat room, but a lot of us are messed up when it comes to this thing called sexuality. And we need to back up from the bad boy, get a tune up, and straighten ourselves up so we know how to approach it properly. Because we're losing ourselves. Half of us don't even know ourselves. So many of us, and I'm not saying this about the sisters in an accusatory type way, but in this society, you got great power when it comes to the sexual energies. You know how easy and gullible most men can be. And men, don't call me no simp, because I ain't a simp. I'm just telling it like it is. You get a sexy, gorgeous, beautiful, well-shaped woman who seems to have it going on in the world. She flirts with you. It stops you dead in your tracks. And most of us will turn into Bozo the Clown and listen to everything she says and do what she says and get so intoxicated. You have a lot of power that way. But do you really know yourself? And fellas, do you really know yourself? To get so caught up. And we're blasted with these images, and we can't make up our mind, and it becomes a thing of just surface sex, lust. Our brains are bombarded with images we can flip through. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We see this one and we send it to our friend. Oh man, look at her backside. Oh, and the next day it's another one. Oh my God, I would love to. Well, and what are you doing with your life? Your mind is taken away. It's a drug now. But people say, well, it's natural. Yes, it's natural. Weed is natural. But you smoke it and you deprive your mind and your brain of oxygen. I'm not trying to preach to anybody here. But they say that what? Satan comes in a straight path? You be the best person in the world and you like to eat and you make yourself obese and take yourself out of this life because of your lust to eat, because of some other underlying problem. And here you are, third time for the day, going to KFC, drinking whole Cokes. Listen, I hope the brother's alive, but it's a guy I used to work with many decades ago. And he would come in the morning. Now, mind you, in the morning, this is a metropolitan area where things were always available 24/7. It wasn't like some small town. He would come in with a bucket of chicken for lunch. A bucket, and a 3-liter, big 3-liter soda to drink at lunch. But he would have a whole pizza and a 3-liter, I think it was a Coke he'd have for breakfast. Then the whole bucket at lunch. And after that work was over, he was on his way out to go to another fast food restaurant of choice, usually an all-you-can-eat joint. Now, this guy used to be able to dance and go to the clubs and dance. He was known for being a good dancer. I didn't know him back then, but the people would talk about him. He wasn't a bad guy, but they would always talk about him. It got to the point where he could hardly walk 5 steps without stopping to catch his breath. And then he did the gastric bypass situation, and it looked like it was working for a while, but the underlying issues were not dealt with. They were still there. So guess what? They took out part of his and have less to digest that food, and he blew up again, just as bad. So many of us think that even with, and I'm all over the place right now. I said what I had to say in the beginning of the show. If you missed it, go back to the beginning. And remember to always hit Lancescurv.com. That's where everything is. All the writing, everything, the art, and everything. This is just a taste, because YouTube might knock me off one day or Instagram might knock me off one day. I have my own platform. So make sure to go there. There's so much more going on over there other than YouTube videos. I create and upload different things daily. I just create as much as I can. I have so many things coming up. And I didn't do anything yesterday, and I have to tell you why. I had a problem with my internet. Everything is uploading slowly. The live streams is no problem unless there's a power outage or glitch. But Mr. Political and I did a really nice program. He is the one who did the majority of talking, of course. I introduced him, and I was in the middle a little bit. But it was phenomenal. And it's uploading. It's at 71%, but for some reason, it's so slow. And I was going to have it up yesterday and do something else, and I knocked out. So this was from yesterday, but when it comes up later on, I don't know exactly what time, because it'll be a couple of hours, but I'm going to stay up until it's up. But it was a phenomenal show, because I usually do not like to miss days and somebody's ringing my phone and I can't pick it up. They're going to have to just ring it. I know there's a couple of phone calls that I was supposed to take. Well, that's across the room, so it's going to have to just sit there. Anyway, and I see that I was knocked off from the stream on the phone. You know what? This just might continue to ring like forever. So let me just go ahead and mute the bad boy and come over here across the room. Hold tight. I'm going to have to answer this. Brother, how are you? Oh, he hung up? Yeah, he hung up. I'm going to have to call him back. It's a very important phone call. I promised him I'll be ready. I didn't know that he was going to call at this particular time. And I know he's very, very much a stickler. So I'm going to have to call him back.
Hello, sir.
Yes, my brother. I'm in the middle of a live stream right now, and I will call you back shortly.
Yeah, that's what I
You thought?
What I thought.
Okay. No problem. I'll call you back. Okay, I'll talk to you. Thank you. Thank you so much. No need to hit the mute button and be fancy. Y'all heard it. I'll call him back after. But I had it hooked up to the stream, but that call knocked it out. So I think we're pretty much over the hump, because the weather seems to be pretty much all right. But again, if I get knocked off, give me 90 seconds and I'll be back on through my phone. It's getting dark now. You know, over here in West Africa, it is 5:53. Well, a few more minutes to 6. It depends on the clouds or whatever. The sun's going down. It's down. It's still light, but it's that kind of light that every 3 minutes you say, hey, it's getting a little dark, a little dark, a little dark. It'll be like really dark by another 15 minutes. But that's okay, you know? Yeah, but like I was saying, it's something, yes, that is natural, but we need to have control over it. And like fasting, to back away from it, it will allow us to see things that we don't see. Lots of times we use it as something to cover those unacknowledged issues. And once we get away from that, because, you know, it's not bad. So please don't think it's something bad when it's in a committed relationship and you are at full strength. But that is something that, just like when you get an operation and they say you need to fast 24 hours before we do this operation because it may be disastrous. We can't have your stomach full of food. You got to have your body at rest. These systems need to be put in as at rest. And also we have to address, and speaking about embracing celibacy, you know, lots of times we will have soul ties with another person. We might have soul ties with that other person who their situation and their issues are not dealt with. And guess what? Since you're connected to them, that becomes your issue. So something that looks good, you just can't always jump into bed with them because you'll get an instant soul tie. And the longer you stay with them, is the stronger that tie will develop. It'll be harder to break. And people talk about soul ties like, okay, most of the time when we speak about it like it's bad, right? Because most of the time we speak about it, it's something bad that has gone on. But what about the good side of a soul tie? With a person who is committed to you, with a person who keeps their vessels clean, the spiritual, the mental, and the physical, who is into you, who is concerned for you, who wants your well-being to always be the top of their list, as you should feel that way for them. You want a soul tie with that person. You want to be tied up. And I don't mean tied where you can't move. Maybe that's the wrong language. But you flow with them. You see, in celibacy is a way to help correct that. Maybe that man, sisters, might be the one for you, but he has certain issues from his past. Maybe he didn't get over that old relationship where he was hurt. No, he doesn't want it back, but the scars are still there, and the scars need to heal up a little more. Maybe when you get a new apartment, you don't just move in right after they finish doing the construction. And well, you know what? It'll be prepared in 2 weeks, but I want to move in now. You got nails on the floor. You got wet paint. The toilet seat is not on. You got the toilet bowl, but not the seat. The gas isn't run yet. Wait until things are right. So sometimes you'll see that beautiful apartment that you want to move into and you put money down on it, but it's not right to move in right away. That's what I'm talking about. So this is something that we just don't do these days in 2024, even 2004. And for what I can remember, 1984, right? It just got worse and worse. And social media has helped to fan the flames of this promiscuity, where it's not even about we're in a relationship. It's just like, I like that. I want to lay down with that. I like that. And I want to, I can say some adult things, but I'm not going to say it. But that's how we do now. It's like sampling, like trying on clothes in the department store. Like, I'm going to try her on. I'm going to try her out. I have a checklist here. Does she give good this, or does she does that good, or does she accommodate me this way? I'm trying not to say nothing nasty, y'all. Okay, we getting a phone call again. Am I going to have to just cut this phone off or what? This is ridiculous. And this is a call from what I can see from the Caribbean, 876. No, I can't take it right now. You know what? If I want my phone to ring, I just go live. When I'm not live, the phone doesn't ring. What is that? I always say it. Sometimes people call me in the middle of a live. I put music on and like, hey, how you doing, Lance? I'm like, hey, I'm okay. What are you doing? Oh, I'm just sitting here. Aren't you doing a live? Yeah, why are you calling me during a live unless you're coming in to talk on the show? And I'll allow anyone to come on in. This is what I'm going to do. Yes, Kim, thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, wow. This is wonderful. Let me, if anybody wants to come in and say something on the stream right now to kind of immortalize it with their presence, I'm going to drop the link, and it's okay to come on in. Your face won't be seen if you don't want to be seen because you have the banner there. And I just want to read Kim Williams' comment and put it here. Kim Williams says, I love being single and celibate. Doesn't bother me as much as it bothers others who think I should be with someone. My patience is such that I don't have time for foolishness. I enjoy my company. You're in the best place, my sister. You ought to be applauded. I was going to upload the applause sound here, but hey, I'll just clap my hands right here. We need more sisters like you. We need more sisters like you. And I'm going to tell you, you are extracting more life out of life for yourself, and you're getting to know yourself. You know yourself, and like you said, you don't have time for the foolishness, because in this lifetime, because of this thing called sex and how powerful it can be and how engaging it can be, it's nothing bad. But who wants to make the leap to find out that they have a life now of chaos and confusion and toxicity that didn't belong to them? How many times we as adults turn around and say, you know what? My life was better off without this person. And again, I'm not demonizing relationships. I'm not demonizing proper righteous sex, but it's a very powerful thing. You got to handle it with care, because usually people don't understand the spiritual aspect of it. And this is, see, people who are just in the carnal level on a lower vibration, they say, okay, being celibate means I can't get laid. I can't have sex. I can't do this. I can't do that. No, but what about what you can do when you put that down? You know, you have people who have gone through decades and decades leapfrogging from one toxic relationship to the next and don't even know themselves. They get into their 50s and 60s and they start to discover who they are because they didn't know who the heck they were the whole time, because they had someone else's energy all over them, their toxicities all over them, their chaos all over them. But they held on because the sex was good. Really and truly? Wow. But I commend you, Kim Williams. I commend you. Let me read this other comment from Robin England. Experiencing celibacy has been joyful and painful. A very long time to truly appreciate this experience as a learning and understanding me, necessary to finding my true purpose in all areas of life. You see that? You see that? This is wonderful that we're having so many people speak on this, because I don't think everybody's going to get on here. No, it's a bad thing. But they're going to listen and wonder it and say, hey, this is what they're talking about? Maybe I need to investigate a little more. You see what I mean? And I'm going to look over here by Instagram at the Soul Writer. She says, I think it's okay. Yeah, you're a she. I'm looking at, but the avatar is so small in this other computer, so correct me if I'm wrong. I've been celibate for over 4 years. Not my first time either. It's such a powerful decision. I feel good mentally, spiritually, and physically. It has also expanded my spiritual discernment. Yes, that's another benefit. That's another benefit. The gift of discernment, which I feel we all have, but we don't cultivate it. We don't expand it. And see, this is why it's important to what you said. It has also expanded my spiritual discernment. We all have the instincts, but because we get caught up in the carnal world, somebody flips the bird at you on the highway, somebody's pissing you off on the job, you got an issue at home or whatever, and so we get so caught up in this instead of backing up and to use our own life force. Like I said, life force is like that tree. Life force is the trunk of the tree. It's pulling up all of this force from the soil and its connection to the sun. And then you have different branches of the tree. And then you have the branch of sexuality. It's a beautiful branch. It's a necessary branch, but it's a branch that we unnaturally focus on so much. And in this wicked world, the good thing has been twisted and turned around as something bad. What child would not want to eat dessert as the main course and the meal as a side little dish? They want the cake. They want the pudding, but they don't know any better. They don't know that food is not going to give them the nourishment. That's just a sweet little treat at the end after absorbing the nourishment. You see what I mean? So this is very important to notice. And so it's a matter of cleaning your filters and moving about without that, because then without that, like I said, that's the only system in the body that you don't need to live. You will procreate with it. It feels good. It's something to tie us in with someone else in a proper committed relationship. But we're not going to die. But if you don't breathe, you're going to die. If you don't have a digestive system, you're going to die. If you don't have a skeletal, how are you going to move around if you got no bones? Nervous system. If you don't have that, when you touch the hot stove, you won't be able to pull away. We need those things. Yes, and to procreate and the lovey-dovey and the feel good and the soul ties with the one that we're with, that's beautiful. But that's not going to come around as often. Look, many of us, I'm not saying anybody here because there are many people that I do know and a lot of people that I don't know. But for those who are realistic and we think about how we thought about things when we were younger, and I feel that I had a wonderful upbringing, wonderful parents, good home. Like I would tell everybody, the only thorn in my side of my childhood was my older brother who was addicted to drugs, and I always wanted that relationship with him. And it's that has caused me certain issues in my life that I'm not going to reveal, but nothing bad, but things I needed to adjust from that because that was a crack in my armor, opening up to people to replace that I needed. That's what it was, right? So if we're honest with ourselves, a lot of times, even myself, I gotta say it. Look, I'm 61 years old in April. That may mean something to somebody. Somebody else may come and say, hey, I'm 91 in April too. So what are you saying? For me personally, right? That trajectory, that timeline of the hands-on experience of what I've learned in this life. I look back on the origins of some of my relationships, starting from my teen years, even if it wasn't a full blown, which I thought was a full blown, but I didn't have any experience. And then I couldn't tell the girls no, and multiple things happened, and I can't dress it up. I wasn't a dirty dog. I wasn't a predator. I just love women. And I look back on the relationships, and some of them, sisters, you'll say it, brothers, some of you will say it. What in the heck was I thinking about? What in the heck was I thinking about to get caught up with this person? And when I saw the red flags of that relationship, why did I stay in it? What could I have been more so now if I was thinking with the mind that I have now back then? But that's part of the learning experience. So you can't fault yourself for that. But the problem is when we keep making the same mistakes over and over and over because we did not clean our filters, and we get caught up in the same old tricks that got us to be in those toxic relationships in the first place. Ain't that something? And then you have, let's go deeper. This is beyond celibacy. We free flowing now. Then you have these spirits. We have these people who I'm sure at this point in my life, not all human. They're compromised. And they walk across the earth seeking to kill and destroy. And they can assess you. They can look you in your eyes and download your essence and become whatever it is that you want them to be. And they appear to you this way. The ultimate in seduction. And I'm going to read over from Instagram again, the Soul Writer 1. Make sure to follow up. This practice is for the wise. Yes, I said it. As a younger person just experiencing hormones, I give them some slack. However, as mature adults, we should be able to govern our desires. Exactly. Govern it. We're not saying that people don't feel it. We're not saying they don't feel the pull, gravitational pull, but you have to use your mind and your sense to say, hey, this is not going to happen because this is not supposed to be. I'm not going to fall victim to the lower desires just to end up for a little friction and find myself soul tied down with somebody else who may not have chaos. I don't know. Maybe they do. But you can't fling yourself and your destiny into someone else's hands in other situations like that. Because these days, when I say we, I'm not saying any one of us, I'm just saying in our overall sense, we dress up so well. We cover our flaws so well. We go out into the world and present the best representative for ourselves, covering our flaws. Like a person who's trying to sell a home that has severe foundational damage, and they take the concrete and smear it over the cracks. You see there's leaks in the plumbing upstairs, and the ceiling is discolored, but you paint over those discolorations, which indicates a leak. So we can make the sale and get top dollar. So we can fool a person and get a good person, but then we pull them down with our idiosyncrasies. Isn't that something? So you have these people who are moving about the earth And it seems that they have no direction. Because, you know, my thing is like a skimming rock. The more force that it has, the more it's going to skim across the surface of the lake water before it falls down. So when a person doesn't have some type of momentum, they can't really skim across the top of that water. So number one, the rule is, if you're not about something and can't show me a history of what you're about, it doesn't mean, oh, you were 20 years on the job and now you have this great pension. No. But what are your footsteps on the mental level? What are your footsteps on the spiritual level? What kind of path did you walk? What kind of trail did you leave behind? Because it's easy to dress ourselves up. It's easy to put on the fine clothes and shake the Mercedes-Benz keys on the key ring when we took public transportation, which nothing's wrong with public transportation. I know many people doing great things taking public transportation. They're saving up for their house. They're saving up to start a business. So we can't judge by the surface, but our carnal eye and the desires that we don't govern do us in, because we don't govern those things. We have to govern them. You see? So the soul writer dropped some serious words here. Govern our desires. And how do we do that? Celibacy. Do you go every time you get paid and go down to the shopping mall and spend all of your money and have no money left in your account? How foolish that would be. You have to govern that thing to want to purchase something, which always to want to shop on unnecessary things lets you know that there's an underlying problem, an underlying issue. You see, so it's not just sex. You may have to stay away from the shopping malls until you figure out why you want to shop all the time. Maybe you were raised up in a household where you had many brothers and sisters and not too many clothes. And now you want to be the person wearing the newest stuff, which, you know, we all heal in different ways. I can't tell you how to heal. But just question yourself. Why do I do the things that I do? Why am I kind of feeling imbalanced? Because when you can control yourself and you can govern yourself properly in your desires and the lower desires, which I'm not saying that sexuality is a bad thing, but we abuse it. And so this is why embracing celibacy is very important, because that's one of the strongest ones. Everybody out here walking around normal, getting ready to go to work, walking through the street. You'd be surprised how many people lusted after you today. You'd be surprised on maybe how many people you've lusted after. I'm just being funny, y'all. I'm not saying anybody here. But we're volatile. We're ready to explode. Things can happen. And we got to control that within ourselves first, so we don't have disasters. Let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you a funny little story. I don't want to reveal who it was, but there was a household close to me. And the father was kind of a jackleg, bootleg preacher. And the mother was, you know, in the whole thing too. And there were a lot of brothers and sisters that were grown. And one night, and this was on a Saturday night before the service on Sunday, they didn't have a church. Sometimes they did have an external little storefront church, and lots of times they did it from their home. Well, the house caught fire. And if there were 8 brothers and sisters in the house, there were 8 people leaving up out of that house, even though the parents lived there. We couldn't believe. And the house caught fire. It was one side that caught fire, but of course everybody's going to leave. They're going to say, well, it's only on that part. I'm not going to stay right here. We couldn't believe the amount of people that were up in there doing their thing in this particular house that was deemed to be holy and a partial church. We saw the ice cream man. We saw the mailman. We saw the lady that had the cake shop around the corner up on the main road. And there was a midget that came out who had a limp. I'm like, what sister was he messing around with up in there? So you never know. See, we work hard to appear normal to people. And what's normal? There is no normal. Number one, there is no normal. That's me saying. That's my opinion. There is no normal. That's the average and sum total of everything that's out there. But there is no normal. But we know what normal is at 9 to 5 or whatever your 9 to 5 may be. What's expected. And we know how to morph into that. And we get shocked when we see what is not normal, but we're walking around with conflicting desires and conflicting thoughts, and everything that is in nature and creation is the product of a thought. You see the flagpole outside, you see the tires on your car, you see the way that they made the toothbrush. They thought about that and had to put that out there first, and sometimes failed at what they tried to make. So when your life is in chaos and you find yourself in a certain place time and time again, you thought about that and you rolled the dice and you had to gamble. Well, this lady, she's highly fertile, but I like the way she looks, and I'm going to try to get with this one time. Roll the dice. 9 months later, remember that night? You ain't talked to me since, but I'm pregnant. See? You rolled the dice. When you embrace celibacy, you control the urge to roll the dice for whatever reason. For whatever reason. And we all have reasons we can explain, but we know at the end of the day, we could have done better. The more control you have over yourself and your lower desires, which in this hit or miss type of thing, we're all amped up. It's like late at night, you're falling asleep with the TV on, you see KFC commercials, Papa John pizza commercial, all you can eat restaurants and coupon specials and all this stuff, and you wonder why you wake up singing the jingle to a fast food joint and find yourself in there buying something. Huh? Because of what's in our mind. If we can control ourselves, I'm going to tell you one thing. We would have a fuller life. We'd enjoy ourselves. Just like our sister here, the Soul Writer One on Instagram, and our sister here, Kim Williams, right? Robin England, and all the other sisters here who are, some are in relationships that are righteous. That's good. But if you can't control yourself by yourself, how are you going to control yourself in a relationship? I don't mean you have to abstain from that kind of contact, but you will have rocky roads as that building, the foundation of that building of that relationship settles. There's a settling that takes place. And if you're not settled within yourself, how are you going to be settled with somebody else? If you don't enjoy your company, like Kim Williams and Sister Soul Writer One, if you don't enjoy yourself, how are you going to be good for somebody else? You got to be good for yourself. You got to be able to be by yourself and not, I'm so lonely. I'm so this. What are you running away from? Yeah, and we're made to be social beings. But we're made to be social beings when we're right with ourselves. You see? We can't present a toxic version of ourselves and expect it to work. So many of the brothers, I make good money, man. I'm hanging down to my knees. So, they ain't done much like me. So, yeah, I know she gonna love me. But then you're emotionally abusive. You don't know how to nurture your woman. You don't know how to encourage her. You don't know how to appreciate her outside of her backside and her boobies and her vagina. What about the essence of the woman? She's not a sperm receptacle. Yes. It's there to be enjoyed when you earned it. When you earned it. And guess what? She don't mind giving herself to you in any way within reason. Now, I know, we all determine what the limitations are, if there are any. But when you do your woman right in all the categories, she's going to make sure it's in her essence to please you and pleasure you like you should be doing her when she does you right as a man. And it makes it better. And when you come out of knowing who you are and abstaining, and you take your time and go through the steps, each step is bliss. Each step is bliss. I can tell you from personal experience many decades ago when I was a much younger man, how it's really adult. I want to say it a certain way. I'm going to say it the between the lines way because we don't know who's listening to this and who will replay this, right? There were times when I had access to multiple, I don't want to say energies because they were women and they knew, and it was okay by them. I was always very honest that way. most of the time, 85% of the time. And it got to a point where I couldn't even feel what they were doing to me. Now, you know what it was when I said what they were doing to me. Because it was just too much. It was too much of a blur. My life force was being drained, giving it to this one and giving it to that one. So while some of my carnal friends, because I had friends on all levels, and the ones on a higher vibration, even though I was a much younger man, I didn't talk with them about those things. But the ones who are carnal and on a lower vibration, man, you getting over, you got the life. But I quickly realized that I didn't. Because that's how nature is. And most men don't know that. Say, for example, you have 100% of your life force. I'm telling you something from experience. You got 100% of your life force, and you got 4 women who are willing to be in a part of your life where they might be busy, and they say, I don't care, just don't bring me any diseases, whatever. I'm a good woman, I'm too busy for this, I don't want a relationship, and we can do this thing physical. Yeah, I know who you're messing with, so and so. It's like that sometimes, y'all. And because of my appearance, the way I kept myself, and I was a gentleman, whatever, opportunities never were dried up. But I never enjoyed myself the way I thought I would on that level as a young man. Just finished being a boy. And I've realized that you can't trick nature. You can't trick nature. So hold yourself back. Be more selective. Get to know yourself. Stop running around like that. Get to know yourself where you know what you like. I'm not talking about like on an intimate level. I'm talking about like as far as the woman's energy. This is why it's called dating. I know I'm way off of celibacy. I just have to say these things to support that. You don't date to go to bed with the person. Let's get that straight. You date to feel out the energy of a person so you can know what it is that you like or don't like in that member of the opposite sex. You can date 10 people. It doesn't mean you're a whore. You just dated them. You just spent time with them. You saw how the man you dated was rude to the waitress because he didn't want to tip. You said, this guy is he's so rude. He has no upbringing. I don't like that in a man. I'm saying for the sisters, don't clip that part out and try to make it seem like I'm some rainbow dude. You see what I mean? Okay, yes, I have a question here on and welcome Michael Ferguson, Rose Bailey. Yes, I have a question on Instagram, and I'm going to try to keep it back on the subject from Essence Gold. Mr. Lance, what do you think about the influence of hip hop culture in Africa? What have you noticed? I noticed that it's bad because it's not organic. It's the remanufactured post 1990 corporate hip hop that they're pushing over here. You do have some organic artists that are good, but the machine of the entertainment industry from the West is well over here with their influences. But they dress it up like it's African, but it's not. They use the visage and they use the covering of that. Catchy beats, beautiful women, all the stuff, but it's most of it that is pushed for materialism, for sex, for ego, and the materialism and the one-man upmanship, no unity. It's going to destroy the motherland the way they're presenting it, because they know that to destroy a people with us, we would ultimately guinea pigs, infiltrate their culture. Infuse the culture, like I said in a show that I did days ago. Sweet, toxic beats in the music. The beats are sweet. I'm like, man, they got some music out here that when you listen to it, oh my God, they don't push it. You don't hear it over in America unless you specify and search certain things, which is good. But when you look at the visuals and you look at the words, I couldn't believe the other day there were these 3 brothers walking down the street and they didn't seem to be thuggish in any kind of way. But one had a radio and he had it playing loud. It was a hand radio. It wasn't a boombox or anything. But he turned it up and it sounded tinny because it didn't really have any bass to it. But all I could hear in there, in the beat, nigga, 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 nigga. I'm like, what? They were saying other things to mask it, and they kept saying that in the chorus. And they were sagging their pants, and they were looking a certain way. So they're being misdirected. They're also infusing the music with a lot of rainbow-friendly type stuff. They're pushing that hard over here, along with the atrazine that effeminized men is proven. It turns male frogs into female frogs that can have eggs and reproduce. It's proven. Atrazine, go Google it, y'all. Don't doubt me. It's a multifaceted attack on us, and they know that Africa is the future. They know we have young generations over here. They know the minds of many of the young African men. And when I say, I mean the whole continent. There's 54 countries in Africa. So what most people who may be ignorant to, oh yeah, over there in Africa, like it's as small as Rhode Island or something. They're different governments, they're different cultures, they're different languages, they're different mentalities, and many of the different countries here in Africa. It should be one. There should be a unifying force. And yes, keep your culture. But this is why they divided us up with the language. The different languages, we're one. And I'm not going to perpetuate it, but you have some countries that don't like black countries now, where they don't like the people in the other country 2 days over. Y'all know, if you really study, you know. You know? Okay, I'll say it. Ghanaians and Nigerians. Culturally, with the music, they can get along. But there's a distrust and a disdain oftentimes in many ways. Because the Ghanaians sometimes feel that the Nigerians are very aggressive, as they are in business and other things. They gonna get it. You get the Nigerian brother, sister, they gonna get it 9 times out of 10. And it's a little more laid back here in Ghana. And so they don't like that lots of times. So I've learned a lot culturally. I don't know everything, but I can tell you from hands-on. So always keep the questions coming. And if I don't know something, I'll research it, I'll ask. But I've tried to take the camera and speak to people, but a lot of folks don't want to show their face. It's okay. I can't push that on them. A lot of them don't even want to do the audio. So I'll talk to people and they'll tell me things. You see what I mean? But yeah, it's, let me see what Robin England said here on YouTube. They've been in training to change hip hop for the past 50 years, enough time to rebrand and change up what hip hop originally stood for. Yes, because I'm not a rapper and I'm not influential in any of that. But in New York City growing up, before it was really like something big, it was local. Of course, it was all over the place, right? But you can go here and see Salt and Pepper on the Avenue, driving past. You can go to the White Castle restaurant and sit there next to LL Cool J, which I almost got in a fight with him way back. You know, I had a little camcorder and I kind of shining it around and I aimed it on him. It's like, yo, bro, get the camera at my face. You know what I mean? Like, I'll tell that story. I've told it a million times. You go Manhattan. I was walking down 125th Street and I saw a Rakim. You know, it was all over the place, and then boom, it just got something to be big. And when they saw how influential it was, now they want to take over because they saw how we were educating ourselves with it, with groups like Public Enemy and just different groups like that, X-Clan, and brought awareness with the beats. So they had their agenda, the corporate world, and they said, oh, this is something that's good, because at one point they wanted nothing to do with it. I mean, hell, they had a problem playing Michael Jackson videos on MTV. They said, no, we're not going to play it. But it got so big, they had no choice but to play it. And that's Michael Jackson. You see? But we forget this thing. We forget the industry, the aim of it, and what it's doing to the minds of our children. Now we got Saucy Santana, Sexy Red, Lil Nas X. Who puts these people, or who is in demand of these people? Who put these people in demand? Are our kids saying, oh, we want to see a man who got lipstick on and heavy set and shaking his behind? I can't get away from this guy. You know, I'm on social media a lot. I got to keep my hands on the pulse of what's going on and not go overboard now. You know what I mean? I can't stay on there all day. But, you know, the trends and different things, there might be something I might be able to talk about of note that is edifying. So I got to go through a lot of trash sometimes, and a lot of stuff is sent to me, sometimes repetitiously. Sometimes I get the same thing sent to me 150 times in a day. I can't talk about everything, but if I talk about something, I got to be able to tie it into something else to make us think. I guess that's why I'm not as popular as other people who run with the ratchet stuff, but I'm not here to be popular. You see what I mean? So here's another comment from Robin England. Watch who's performing at these music events, concerts, shows, more and more young people from Africa. Yes, because they want those from the West to know them. And they're big here. Let me tell you something. These folks here, when they have their stars come out, but they're being manipulated. They're tools to get into the minds of the children. It's a coordinated event. When Kamala Harris came out here and spoke to the president of Ghana, and she was pushing the rainbow thing, because traditionally here, you ain't going on with that stuff. They set up somewhere to have the little meetings, whatever, and the cops went in there and broke it up. Right? Okay. Culturally, it ain't going on. But you want to hear a secret? It's going on. The whole rainbow thing is going on over here in Ghana on the low. You got dudes out here who eyeball you in that down low look, and it's out here. It's out here. I could not believe it. And I'm going to probably post this. I got to find it. I have it on my phone. I took a picture. This is going to sound funny when I say it. I took a picture in the men's bathroom, right? No, it wasn't me taking no picture, no man. It was a picture of a sign on the wall. Do not urinate on the seats. Do not this, and no sex allowed. So they had an attendant, which was really a watered down security guard standing by the sinks. He didn't have a uniform on. He was there, and I was like, brother, you work here? And he said, yes. He says, I'm here. I'm here to help out whoever needs help. You know, if the soap dispenser breaks or, you know, something, or we need to call the plumber, I'll get them. The paper runs out, I got to fill it up. I said, okay, bro, let me ask you something. Because number one, I want to take a picture of that sign. I said, the sign says no sex. So you're saying no sex on the sign because sex was happening here, correct? He said, yeah. I said, wait a second. Now, see the stalls in that bathroom. I wish I could show you all, but I'm not going to go. I look kind of queer, you know, videotaping. It's not like in the West. This is not every restroom, but in this particular one at the Accra Mall, y'all, Google it. You'll see how nice it is. The doors don't have no little cracks in between where the doors don't touch and somebody can push their eye and look at you. They got a little metal piece that overlaps and it goes all the way down to the ground, all the way up the door, and it's sealed. It locks with a real heavy duty lock. So if you got a problem in there and you having a seizure or something, they probably do have a key to open it up, but you have complete privacy. So what he told me, that they had a problem with women coming in there with men. Now this is Africa now. This is the so-called motherland that everybody loves, and I'm not knocking it. I'm just going to tell you what's been going on. Sometimes in the mall they have this word that they call slayers. Slayers. And the slayers, it's a slang word from what I can gather, because I'm due soon to go down to the real busy part where the clubs are, the hotels are for the tourists, the prostitutes on the corner half naked. They got all of that over here, right? But the slayers is a term of a woman who is looking to get paid or get some type of advantage because she keeps herself a certain way. You know, she's dressed a little bit too provocative for the mall. And her eyes are searching for those who look at her charms in a certain way. And she's ready to talk. I'm not saying all of the slayers go into the bathroom, but you had some who did. And this is what this guy told me. That if you can get into the restroom and she could stand out in front of the female restroom and it empties out, because you know how sometimes you go into a mall restroom and there's nobody there, or there's one person in the store who's not looking. Hey, come. They slip in there quick and you go in one of the stalls and you take care of business. That's what they've been doing. But we're not done with that one. They also have gay male sex that goes on there. Yes, they are here. And you would never know who. I noticed that when I would go to the beach, because you know me, from growing up in New York City, I'm going to see. I'm going to go. I'm going to be nosy. What goes on up in there? I'm going to go see it. That's been my life. Not nosiness, but I've always attracted finding out things that go on that nobody knew about from young, okay? 12, 13. I'd kind of tell a story like I'm going to go spend the night over a friend's house, and I was right in the bright lights of Times Square, 42nd Street, back in the mid-70s. So my memory goes back far, and my gift of discernment of these wayward spirits, trust me, I don't know everything. But I can tell you, and I'm going to clarify what I mean, and I've said this before, there's nothing that my eyeballs have not seen. Now, I don't know everything. When it comes to human nature and human involvement, I've seen it all. I've seen it all. Think up something. I've seen it on the interaction level between human beings. And so for me now, coming here, I still hold this place in high regard, but human nature here in Ghana is alive and well. Now, I will not demonize the whole country, because there are people who live in smaller places, smaller cities, outside of Accra or Kumasi, right? That they wouldn't dare live down in Accra. Accra is like New York City on a scale. The hustling, you know, the people trying to get money. We're not talking about that it's bad, because the economy is stressed. See here, you come and you see my videos. I got one on an upload. I take my little camera and I walk around in the street and show you how it is in common areas, and they have very affluent areas. And again, honestly, since I'm not driving right now, I'm not going to go as far and deep off the beaten path to show you those affluent areas as much. And there's some that I can go through. But as I go through my normal routine, I always keep something on me recording. And it's aimless. It's not like I'm doing a documentary. I just want you to see common life. Like, okay, for those here who have moved away from their place of birth, say, for example, if it wasn't a small little hick town where there's nothing going on, but if it's a city, right? Say you moved to New York, but you're from Chicago. Say you moved to Detroit, Michigan from Dallas, and you're from Dallas. Wouldn't you like to see the normal life? Like, this is what happened today, and you see an hour of that footage. But that's what I do since I'm here. Since I'm out there, I'm going to show you. And some of it may be redundant over time, but it's something to see. But here in Accra, yeah, everything is going on. And like I say, oh God, yeah, there's a YouTube channel that I always recommend to see the flavor of what's going on here. And it's not a news reporting type thing. It's this guy named Arnold who does these interviews, right? I think it's Vibes at 5. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go on my other computer here. I'm at 75% with that one. Let me see. Let me just go and see if I could drop this link. I'm going to have to open up another screen. But listen, I'm not going to mess up everything, because sometimes I hit one thing and it's like it messes everything up. But just go to YouTube and Google Vibes at 5 and put the name Arnold in that. Vibes at 5 and put Arnold. You will see some bizarre, twisted, kinky, freaked out freaks, all kind of people. And make sure to go and dig into the older stuff. The older stuff is wild. And you'll be like, wait a second. I can't believe that I'm seeing this here. I can't believe this. This is what's here? And there's other things I can tell you. And I'm going to also do some uploads or actual shows, interactive conversations. I want everybody on all the platforms I'm broadcasting right now to know, I'm going to do conference line calls. And I have a conference line. Many people don't know that. Some do. And it's easy to get there, right? I'll tell you how to get there. If you're on a computer, if you're on a phone, you go to Lancescurv.com. Now, I'm not on there now, but you go to Lancescurv.com, like you see on the top, on the upper left-hand corner of this banner. Go there, and right under the header, you'll see a huge tab that you can't miss. You can't miss it. It says the conference line. You tap that, it takes you to my conference line, where you can talk with me and with others as we discuss different topics. So maybe, just maybe, since there's a lot of people on both ends, when I finish this, maybe I'll go to the conference line for a little bit and I can talk more adult. You can ask me questions directly. We can talk to other people who are there. We have a good old time over there because there's no restrictions, because you see, with artificial intelligence monitoring everything that we say now, they can catch certain words and flag this video and knock it off. So I can't be unrestrained verbally as I used to be. But on my conference line, I can do that, and I will upload it to my Patreon page and sometimes other platforms that we have on the podcast level, which I'll flash that across here too, because we're all over the place. Do I have it? No, I didn't upload it. I'm so sorry about that, but I'll flash that toward the end. So there's things that I want to talk about that is like so deep and so adult, but I gotta be careful because, you know, out here they're trying to, especially me, I'm the bad boy out here. I'm the renegade. You know, I talk about things, but they're flagging me from stuff I did 8, 9, 10 years ago. And just think, I didn't come out here on YouTube to be a talking head. I was trying to promote my artwork and my writing, and you'll see that stuff on Lancescurv.com. And I came out here and people liked it, and it kept on going and going and going and going. So here I am. But I'm the quiet guy. But people wouldn't believe that. I like to sit down and draw and write hours and hours, nice and quiet. But this part of my personality came out, and I realized, I say, hey, you know what? Who am I to not share the experiences that I've had, since people like to hear it? My close friends in the inner circle know that side of my personality. I was never shy. Oh, no, I'm never shy. But I said, okay, we'll share it. But I love these types of conversations. I love to speak about human nature. I love that type of exchange. And again, if anybody wants to come on in, I want to share this link one more time. No one did, and it's not mandatory. It's okay if you didn't. But I always give the opportunity. And if you're on Instagram, feel free to come on to Lancescurv on YouTube, where that link is, and you can hit it, and you can come on in if you want to. Let me just see some of these comments. Oh yeah, Robin England, yes. Yeah, sex in the bathroom in New York has been going on. Yeah, that's not, you're right. Let's not go there, but it's there. Kim Williams says, that is so nasty in the dirty bathroom. Jesus help us. Yeah, you're Robin. Sex sells globally. Yeah. And you would not believe, right now as we speak, out here in Accra, it's 6:43 in the evening, and the prostitutes are already on Oxford Street in Osu. But how do I know that? Are you out there trying to pick up prostitutes? No, that is one of the tourist areas where there's a condensed amount of restaurants, clubs, hotels where the tourists are. And there's 1 or 2 particular blocks, you know, and I remember New York City from the late 70s. I used to go out in Times Square and hang out with my friends. And I used to know a lot of the guys who were bouncers in the adult establishments, because I used to go to the gym where they trained. And although I might have been 15 or 16 years old, I looked like a grown man. Come on in here, man. Here, take a few coins and look at the girls. And, you know, I'd see little things, whatever have you, and I'd stand out there and talk with them. So I was well versed in those worlds, the worlds that most people do not see. We're talking from a long time ago, damn near 50 years ago. I'm 61 soon. I've been out there a long time. I learned from seeing and learned from talking to people. And if I only had a camera back then, oh my God. But you'll have to depend on my memory, which is still excellent and very, very good. But my eyes have seen the glory. And it wasn't the Lord coming. I've seen so much, but yes, it's all here. And I had a young lady speak to me about how all of this stuff works, especially out here. And I occasionally and often run into people, especially in the tourist area or the busier areas, that, they're online and they know I'm out here. Oh, Lancescurv, I love you, man. I love you. You get to hang out with people sometime, in a safe way. But the one young lady broke it down to me. She had a few of her friends with her, and she said, hey, come sit down and eat with us, whatever. I said, okay, no problem. They were too shy to get on camera because I think a few of them lied on, they lied to their boyfriends. They were going out having a girls' night. But she's like, yeah, you see the prostitutes over there? They're not from Ghana. Some are, but they are not. We listen to the language and we know these are from Nigeria. You have a lot of Nigerian prostitutes that leave from over there to come over here to do it. And you have a lot of Ghanaian women who leave to go to other countries to prostitute because of the religious tension, the religious culture that here, the religion is so like a cloud. I'm not saying bad or anything, but we know what that's all about. But some of these people are not going to do anything that looks any kind of way, but behind closed doors is on and popping. That's why I say go to Vibes at 5. Arnold, put that, and it will pull up the channel. And he doesn't know who I am, but just say, hey, Lancescurv, another YouTuber sent me here. Know what I mean? Maybe he'll interview me and I'll go over there and talk with him a little bit. You know what I mean? But it's, whenever you have a society, and this is something that I've learned, whenever you have a society that is so repressed, I'm not saying the societies like the West, and I always speak about New York City because that's the place where I was born and raised into manhood and beyond. But there's no repression there, right? There's not that you can do whatever the heck you want to do. So it's out in the open. But here is like a pressure cooker. And the pressure cooker that everything is contained in is called religion. And you are expected to be a certain way. So when you have carnal wayward desires, it's more explosive. See? So that makes me a target. They know I'm an American. And the overall thing here is that, oh, you're from America, so you have lots of money. I wish that was the case. I'm a blue-collar dude who made some proper moves. But I'm not a wealthy man. So you're in the supermarket. You're in the market walking down the streets. You're here and there, and you get eyeballed by women who wouldn't dare come up to you just out like that. But on the low, they're letting you know what time it is. And it's not because I'm such a great guy. Oh, he's a great looking guy for his age. No, the perception that Americans have so much money because they watch social media and the things that many who can't afford certain things still front on. And again, I'm going to make this point. And I know people are coming in and saying, wait a second, it says embracing celibacy. He's talking about it. But I'll talk about a topic and then I'll go off according to what people want to hear and what we're going to speak about, right? But just like the question that Essence Golden asked earlier, Mr. Lance, what do you think about the influence of hip-hop culture in Africa? What have you noticed? Here's an addendum to that has nothing to do with hip-hop, and it also includes it. Look how social media has changed the mind of many who are here in the motherland in many countries to think of America as this place where it's almost like the land of Oz, streets of gold. They seriously think that. And no matter how many times they'll see that there's a record amount of homelessness and just so much poverty and the racism, and yeah, I mean, there are good things that can happen in America. I'm not going to trash it because I'm here. But they think of it as heaven on earth. And they ask you, why would you come to a place like this? Why would you come here? I'm like, look up in the mountains here. Look how beautiful it is. I couldn't live like this in America with what I was making, but poverty looks different. I'm not saying everywhere is impoverished, but you have poor people who live in some beautiful looking areas, but they don't have any money. And so when you buy a car here, and I've said this before, and I'm going to wrap it down soon because we're going to come on tomorrow strong, and I have some other things I want to do, and I might come on later, but I always say that I might record something, but I'm 5 hours ahead of y'all. So for me, it's 6:50. It's already dark, and I got a few things to do, so I will put up that Mr. Political show later on. And make sure to stay in touch with these different platforms, and especially with the website, Lancescurv.com, because we're going to put on some serious content, a lot of it, but I'm not screaming for attention. We're just going to get down and put in the work. We're going to get down and put in the quality work. Okay? But one fact that will illustrate certain outlooks from Ghana and other places in Africa. Here in Ghana, you ain't going to the dealership with $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 and putting down on a vehicle that costs $30,000 and $35,000, depending on your credit, $40,000, whatever. You know, when you see that brand new Lexus, that brand new Benz in America, chances are the person had great credit. Some people have it like that, where they can drop down cash and get a brand new luxury vehicle. But you got to understand that here, for the most part, and you do have banks and you do have a credit system, but it's for those who make good money or those who have maybe a government job. And even then, the ones who have government jobs ain't going to get treated like the way we do in America. So I would say, off the top of my head, 95% of the people that you see with vehicles here, they paid flat up money for it, straight up money for it. And so because that's the way it is here, that when you do see somebody with a luxury vehicle, oh man, they must have money to go in there and pay cash for it. They get on social media and look at all the young folks, early 20s, and, the credit may be good, or they got a co-signer from their pops or their mother or some family member or whatever, and they driving a brand new luxury car and they're 22. Those who are here equate that where you put down cash to get that bad boy. They don't understand about being repossession, getting a repossessed car because you missed out on 2 notes or 3 notes or whatever, and you got to hide the car. You driving around in something they think that you paid cash for, because in their mind, the money's that good. So I have to go there where the money is good. I want to go to America. And they come to America, if they don't have any deep skills, deep skills where they can just come on in and work in the medical field or something that pays well, and you're just going to be a regular blue collar person, and you realize you work in 2 jobs, and you realize that you're paying for an apartment, it's taking most of your money, you ain't getting sunlight pretty much, you got to deal with the supervisor who may not like you, it's different. You're like, wait a second, I see where there's some nice things here, but I didn't know this is what really happens in America. I'm getting paid that amount, but nobody told me the rent was going to be so high. Nobody told me that to buy a house is going to be, well, you have to have damn near a lot of places $500,000. Nobody told me that. I want to go back. I want to go back where I can get 2 plots or 3 plots or 4 acre of land, dirt cheap up in the mountains, where I can just take my time and work something that may pay less, but I can take my time and get my cinder blocks and get a couple buddies who know how to build, and after 2 or 3 years have a house that's paid for. But see, I didn't appreciate that when I was in the motherland. I wanted to go to the glitzy stuff. I wanted to go to where the houses, the materials are so cheap. They throw up your house so quick. You can't design it the way you want to design it. You see what I mean? I just got here. I don't have this thing called credit. So you got to drive something that you take public transportation. How am I going to carry all the bags on public transportation? You know what I mean? They don't anticipate that. A lot of them don't appreciate what they have because they're blinded by the influence of social media. The stars are there. Everybody's a star. I know I'll go there and I will be the star. And they don't see the amount of people who are beat down. Not that you're going to be beat down when you're in America. I chose to leave on my own recognizance. I wasn't beat down, but it wasn't for me. For a long time, I knew the system was not going to give me what I wanted, right? I've been pulled a Kunta Kinte from decades before. I knew I was going to leave off the plantations, right? But I was already acclimated to that because my joy is within myself. It doesn't matter where I am. Up in the mountains, nobody's around me really. I'm isolated. But it's the same me that I was when I was in America, cultivating my talents, my skills creatively. I love that. You can't isolate me. I work better under the pressure of that. There is no pressure that way. And when I do get around people, I can be the life of the party, make you laugh, talk, whatever. I got a lot in this big head of mine. But when it's time to get down and do my stuff, I do it. So I would suggest to anybody looking to move anywhere, if you do, because it's not for everybody. Understand who you are. Understand how you will react with that atmosphere. There's some things I want to talk about that I will not talk about on YouTube publicly. It'll be on the conference line. And I'll answer every single question raw. There's good and bad everywhere. There's good and bad here in Ghana. But when I compared and looked at it, I said, this is way better. This fits me better. If I had a shoe store and only the smallest size was size 12 and up to size 20 something, a big basketball player's foot, but there's nothing but elementary schools and kindergartens, just daycares around me, I'm not going to make no sales. But if a whole basketball team rolls up through there, that's perfect for them. Oh, I got a size 17 here. This will fit me just fine. Hey, I'm doing good. So you have to know where you can acclimate to, what kind of dream you have, what kind of life projection you have. I'm just on the other side of the water from where most of you are right now. There's some from the UK here, but most are from America and beyond. I look at it just as a couple of hours away. If you're in New York City and you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, let's just say you work a 9 to 5, and you get up 6 o'clock in the morning. You want to get there at 9, so you get up, you do a few things in the house. You might have kids to get ready to go to school or whatever. You eat, get something to eat in the time of your commute, in the time to get there early on time enough. Boom, you punch in at 9. You get out at 5. You go to the supermarket. You get home. Say you get home at 6:30, quarter to 7. Well, guess what? When you wake up, if I'm boarding my flight to come from Ghana to New York, depending on how the wind goes, because I believe coming here, if it's a straight shot, going back might be 11 hours, but coming here might be 9 if it's a straight shot. It all depends on, because last time I came here for good in 2020, we had to go to Amsterdam. It was a 4-hour layover, and then we came to a cross. We had to go way the hell up and way up there to come, so it was like a 24-hour flight the way it was. All these layovers, Orlando to Atlanta to Amsterdam, hours. I signed some autographs in Amsterdam in the airport. That was cool. Took some selfies. I'm like, man, the internet's a powerful thing. But that's part of the experience. But when we really learn culture, we can't just look at it through somebody else's eyes or what they project. We got to get down to the nitty gritty. And I've been finding out some things out here, and I can tell it, and I want to do it in the proper way. The good, the bad, and the ugly. But I'll always be transparent with you, and we'll have some fun. I want to wrap this down. Brother man's getting hungry. Exactly, Robert England. They don't deal with credit. Exactly. I love taking the questions and stuff. Maybe I missed a few, but of course, I might just do an open call type thing, or just a question and answer kind of thing. Not that I know everything, but whatever I'm around, whatever I do know, I'm open to talk about. So that's what I'm into. But I want to thank everybody for coming on through. I'm going to sign off, and I'll be back tomorrow for sure. Tonight's a toss-up, because we eat a little food, we get that dose of the itis. I'm not going to say the full word, but I will be working on things. And like I said, make sure to keep in contact through Lancescurv.com, that if I'm ever knocked off from these platforms that are controlled by the people that Kanye West had a problem with, because they don't like me either, the cross threads are on me. We're just looking for one excuse to get rid of Lance, whatnot, and I'm not going to give it to them, But if that does happen, it's not the end of the world, because if you Google the name, it's all over the place. And that's how we get down. We've been out here since 2001. Not on YouTube, because YouTube wasn't around when I came out. YouTube came around 4 years after me. I didn't even pay it no mind. But it's about the work. So go check out my artwork. Go check out my writing. Go check out some of the older videos and stuff, and leave some comments and sign up for the things that you can sign up there for. So I'm looking forward to that. But we will be putting in the work, and I really appreciate you all for being here. Just want to say much love. Lancescurv signing out, and we will be back. I'm open for suggestions. Lance@lancescurv.com. You can always reach me there. I have several email accounts, but that one is the one that I check first, and you'll always get through to me there. The contact information below is there. Also join the WhatsApp channel. I post everything up as far as shows that I'm going to do, unless it's something at the last minute. And the WhatsApp channel is completely anonymous. There's no interaction between those who join it. It's just for you to see what I post in a safe way, anonymous way, because, you know, we got stalkers out here, so nobody's going to bother you. I'll see you, but I'm not a stalker. Anyway, much love to you all. I'll talk to you all later on. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. We'll be coming back tomorrow with more for sure. And look for the Mr. Political several hours from now. I'll be posting it up when it finally uploads it away, because my internet is dragging like a pregnant snail. So I'll talk to you later on. Much love. Peace. I'm out.
Hello, this is Martha. Actually, today I got to meet my friend Lance. Yes, I got to meet my friend Lance. This is my first time meeting him in person, and he's a very kind man, seriously. I do talk with him on phone, on WhatsApp, but I've never got to meet him. But today, he's just extraordinary. He's very, anything you want to know about life, anything you want to know about just human, anything you want to know about life, please. YouTube, Telegram, Instagram, Twitter, all the social media channels, you got to find him there. He's very inspiring. He's very positive. If you want anything positive about life, please subscribe to Lancescurv. And then every day you got to see different videos, different talks, different topics about life. See you.
Make sure to go to Lancescurv.com. Make sure to go to Lancescurv.com, an online magazine established in 2001, containing written articles, thousands of talk shows and discussions, cutting-edge cartoons, as well as erotic expressions and tasteful adult photography. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. Once you get a taste of the world of Lancescurv, trust me, you'll be back for more. Lancescurv.com. Bold, raw, and uncut.